Welcome to Brota GP. This is episode number 68. It is still the summer break. It is the middle of July, but we are still on shotgun rapid fire motorcycle podcast episodes. We are doing it. So on the phone, as always, is Kevin.
As always, sup guys? Thanks for listening. Just like you guys, I'm a huge fan of my work, so we got that in common. So
wait, did you get a bunch of comments about that on Facebook and shit?
A bunch of comments on what?
About everyone being a fan of your work.
Yes, I did, of course, right. Yeah, exactly. Bunch of likes, bunch of comments. We definitely have that in common. And also the growing... I feel like I'm, one fan at a time turning everyone into box wine alcoholics, and I'm very proud of that. The thing I used to be most proud of was the Spanish teenager who told me that I inspire him to talk more shit, which is great.
I remember that. That was last year.
But it's
awesome.
being that may be replaced with the growing alcoholism that I'm fostering worldwide.
Oh my god. Well, so Kev, you actually are not drinking today because you fucked yourself up yesterday, it's Wednesday night. We're a day late for our somewhat normal recording because Kevin was concussed and almost vomiting last night, right?
Correct. I did get kneed in the temple. Didn't feel all that great. Was pretty dizzy. Tried to work through it. Nearly passed out. Almost vomited in the parking lot. And I have one caveat, Rob. I am in fact drinking because Dr. Nick Riviera, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, mentioned go ahead and drink. Because at upstairs Hollywood College Medical School, they said you can go ahead and drink on a concussion. So, despite the fact that I may have slightly darker spots on my brain than I used to, I am dominating some red wine right now.
Oh my god, I could have sworn that you were not going to, and I really believed you when you told me that. But
you can't be proud of Gandhi said, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." And if I'm trying to increase the change of alcoholism, that change starts at home, dog. You gotta set the example. You gotta be the change. So everyone out there, if you want more people to be alcoholics, the change starts at home.
I really don't think Gandhi would approve with you using his message for alcoholism, but I love it. So let's keep. I mean, yes. I got a Great Divide Pale right now, and it's my second one. So I think this is going to be a good episode.
This is going to be sweet.
As you probably already noticed, this is the Kevin and Rob show again. No one else is here. Everett had some stuff to take care of, some very important things in his personal life, and Dennis, actually, it's kind of the same. He may have dialed in, and he may be listening just kind of creepily in the background, but
creepily, right?
Yeah, but that's Dennis.
Creeper status.
It's okay. He's pretty good at it at this point.
Correct.
What else do we got to do? Rider's Law, of course. Rider's Law is hooking us up. Still, they're your California motorcycle accident injury lawyers. If you guys ever need any legal help, you get hurt on the street, you need someone in your corner, as Kev said in our last episode, which I actually have not heard any feedback on from said lawyers, even if it's your fault, call them up because they can help you out with medical bills and maybe get someone else to pay for that. Something
Fuck, right? Even if it's your fault, you gotta get lawyered up. If it's your fault, you especially gotta get lawyered up. You know what I mean? Don't be talking to no paralegal consultant at some law firm that you saw on late night television, man. Like, you gotta get the real deal. And Side knows what's up, so, call them up.
Yeah, and for sure, don't take legal advice from us. Just take our advice that says go get a lawyer, because I feel like that's the number one best approach, and it'll definitely work out for you. Rider's Law. I'm actually riding this weekend with Cy again, and he's going to be competing in his first club race, so that'll be pretty cool. And, of course, Rider's Law, they are sponsoring the KTM class at Sonoma Raceway with Moto America in a couple of weeks. So if you're in California...
And also sponsored our motherfucking fans. If anyone saw those dope-ass pit shirts that we all wore at Moto America World Superbike that we had that had Proto GP and all the sponsors on them, one of our fucking old-school OGs was like, I need that shirt, and Cy just fucking sent it to him. So I'm not saying inundate Cy with calls for free shit, but, I'm not saying not to do that.
Kev is saying inundate Cy with calls about his Zuma, because
right, exactly.
I've heard that it's very close. It's very close. It's gonna happen. One of you guys just needs to call him with an awesome case and fucking Kev's gonna get a Zuma. But whatever.
I need it.
Yeah.
Speaking of giving away free shit, though, it's episode 68, so episode 69 is coming up. Obviously, we know what that means. But in the meantime, over on our Instagram, we are giving away a seriously awesome art print, a Nikki Hayden print that Diego Romo did. We're giving it away to a fan. Go to Instagram. It's pretty easy to learn how to win. You basically just got to tell me you want it. So that's pretty easy. We're giving it away. It's legitimately nice. I have it at home. Certificate of authenticity, so you know this shit is legit as all hell. And if you want like real art or different prints or a lot of stuff, he's hooked us up with 4 before. Some fans got some Maverick prints. It's real good art. The prints are high quality. They're inexpensive. And if you're looking for some actual original art too, Bro has some of that as well, and it's very nice. So check that out.
Kev, did you hear? Is this the same exact artwork that he presented to Roger at Laguna Seca?
It is. So It is a print of that piece. So if you, so the one guy that I said I'm giving it away, and he's like, "You should fucking give it to the Hayden Foundation and quit fucking around." Bro, they gave it to him. This is just a print of that awesome piece.
It's true. Yeah,
right.
Diego helped him raise a bunch of money that weekend and gave him the print, and yeah, it was pretty solid at Laguna Seca what they were able to put together for Nicky and the foundation and his family. So,
right.
But all right, let's get to some motorcycle racing talking of sorts. So obviously there hasn't been any racing in a little while, but we haven't talked about the GP paddock. Specifically, we haven't talked about Moto 2 in quite a long time. It feels like it's been forever. Even the last GP episode, we probably didn't find that much time about it. So what I want to do right now, because the only thing that people seem to care about, which is, I mean, what we care about is the racers, right? So we're not going to talk about racing specifically, but let's go with the top 5 in the championship. We're going to do it in reverse order, because these are the people that are making the stories. These are the racers that actually get you to watch motorcycle racing. So that's what we're doing.
And that's the key, right? We kind of talked about how World Superbike, it's not the best racing right now, but stories can give it to you. That's why it's not lasting. Moto 2 is not the best right now, but it's on an upward trend, and the reason it's on the upward trend is because you have stories, and you have a variety of racers and teams and franchises that we'll get into that really give you something to root for and something to be invested in. So sometimes it's good. Mattia Passini got a surprise win. Other times it's a little boring, but this is definitely a season where we're seeing a turn. Moto 2 is starting to turn a new leaf, and we're seeing the increase in storylines. The actors are slowly being given some stuff to work with.
I love the honorable mention to Mattia Passini. He's in 6th place, and I gotta say it real fast. He got that podium at Catalunya and then was subsequently disqualified after his win.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking DQ'd, bro.
Like the dude had a terrible start to the season with 3 non-points finishes. I think he crashed in at least one of them, and then just goes on a tear of top 5s, and then bam, Catalunya comes along and he gets disqualified. I don't even remember what it was for.
It was for the incorrect oil.
Oh, that's right.
It's almost as bad as fucking Nakagami getting DQ'd for the wrong air filter. Like, incorrect oil. What the fuck? Where are you getting the oil from? Like, they rolled down to Cycle Gear and bought like the non-OEM oil that weekend. I mean, what's happening?
I don't understand. I feel like Moto 2 is the class where they can just walk over to technical and just get a tub of oil and change the oil in the bike. Like, they probably did more work to put the wrong oil into the bike.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but all right,
exactly.
But he's not in the top 5, so we're gonna go with.
So fuck him.
Yeah, exactly. him and his left-hand brake lever. Goddamn.
Mm-hmm.
All right, top number 5, Pecco Bagnaia.
Motherfucking Pecco.
The best placed rookie in the championship by a long way. He's in 5th. The next best rookie is Jorge Navarro down in 15th place. They are both on the Kalex frame. They both had a somewhat slow start to the season, barely scoring points, except for Pecco got 7th at Argentina. I guess I shouldn't say barely scoring points on that one. But then Pecco just, once they get to Spain, freaking just starts putting it on the box and doing quite well. And to be honest, I mean, this is kind of cherry-picking statistics right here, but in the first 5 races, he actually has more points than Marquez did in his Moto2 rookie season.
Right. I mean, obviously there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. But, the interesting thing is that Pecco has exactly what you said. He had a kind of a slow start, and then he puts it together. But why? The dude cut his teeth riding on that piece of shit Mahindra. I mean, that wasn't a good bike. So shitty, they basically pulled out of Moto3 this year after they got a bunch of podiums and won with Pecco. So that's a kid who cut his teeth in a highly competitive cutthroat class in Moto3 on a subpar bike. He was not on equal machinery with those guys, and he had to learn how to find the sweet spot and then push it for all it was worth. And I really think that that's kind of the key to his success in Moto2 is that he did not have the best bike. He didn't have like the KTM killer Honda, or he didn't have, Aki Ayo and the KTM, the best bike of the year, and it wasn't like Danny Kent where his crew chief like figured out some magical setup that no one knew for a while, right? And then as soon as everyone else figures it out, shade, yeah, exactly. Pecco was basically a dude who's training under Valentino and that crew, and just learning that he's got to fucking, he's got to figure it out, and he's got to push extra hard, and that set him to be ready for jumping into the Shark Tank of Moto2. I mean, how long did it take Alex Marquez to get his first fucking podium? Days, bro. And that's because the dude was handed the whole thing on a silver spoon. But Pecco had to earn everything, so he has the mental fortitude and he has the knowledge that, we got to get to work and we got to find that spot and we got to push and all that. And I mean, the fact that he's gotten, multiple podiums in the first half of the season is pretty unheard of for Moto3, call-ups, and he's doing it on a brand new team. If there's anything we've seen in Moto2 is that new teams don't do all that well at first. It's pretty hard to set up that calyx compared to the teams that have been doing it for 5-6 years. But the VR46 team...
I gotta wonder who Rossi called to get that secret setup data. I mean, we didn't actually hear in the beginning of the season if they got like the latest Cal-X or if they were on the last year's model, and I actually don't know who Pecco's crew chief is, right? But we're talking the Rossi team here. He has to have some pull to be able to get that setup data that the other rookie teams have been missing in previous years.
Right. I'm not necessarily so sure it's that. I mean, Stefano Manzi, for his sweet-looking riding style, is not exactly setting the world on fire. So for everyone that ever sees Rob's pics where he looks like the slowest guy in the world, sometimes when you look like the fastest guy in the world, like Manzi, you're still slow. So how you look in pictures isn't always indicative of how fast you actually are.
Does Manzi have nice hair? I mean,
he's kind of That's what we really gotta know. Yeah, exactly. Does he have as good a haircut as Danny Kent? I don't think so. But yeah. Pecco he's the real deal, and I've said this before. This is the guy that's poised. We've had this conversation before, kind of just amongst ourselves about like who's going to replace Rossi and who's going to Yamaha seat. It's not fucking Zarco. I'm telling you right now. They're grooming Pecco to take that spot. They're grooming him to come up, and he's done the first thing you need to do, which is, like Rob always said, be fast in Moto2 fast. Be up to speed quickly is what it takes.
I mean, it's been that way in every class. It's not just been Moto2, right? The people that go on to win GP races fight for the title, or at least are close to fighting for the title in their first year in every single class. Right, Danny Pedrosa did it every year. Marco Simoncelli did it. Jorge Lorenzo did it. Everyone that we know about in GP and has put in solid seasons, they do it quick. They do it early. It just defines what is now a dated term of what an alien is. Right? They can do it quick. They can do it easily. They can do it on anything. I mean, I will agree with you that riding the Mahindra cut Pecco's teeth and really just got him going in Moto2 and even got him going in Moto3. I wouldn't agree that the Mahindra was kind of a turd. It's just, he got a podium the first race out in Qatar, and he actually had more podiums and more wins than people ahead of him in the title, right? Bastianini and Navarro, they were more consistent such that they didn't have shitty non-point scoring finishes. But Bagnaia had some really solid results the entire season, or every now and again in the season. It's just, it to me that screams that the bike was finicky, kind of like the Suitor in Moto 2 and even the Ducati right in MotoGP. Just you get to a track, the thing works out, you go to another track, your setup is completely off, and because Moto 3 is so close with the draft, and because Moto 2 is so close with the bikes being so close together, like any little bit puts you further back, and you don't score points.
Yeah, a little bit off on the setup, and suddenly you're 20th. I mean, fucking ask Bastianini this year, and the dude is just non-existent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
it's a bad look for someone that got a win and was on the podium considerably last year.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess I have to disagree with you. I think that even if it's finicky setup, that means you are the kind of rider who learns quickly when it's working and when it's not. Because if you have a bike that's finicky to set up, you can't spend time you can't waste time refining your setup. You got to be able to find that setup quick and get going. Because if it's a finicky and you're having a hard time finding it, you chasing your tail. And that goes back to what you said about the crew for VR46 is finding that sweet spot in the calyx. I mean, Pecco's got to be sending them the right information, saying, "Look, man, this is this front end is acting like this, the rear is acting like this. We got to make these adjustments, and because we got limited time." And he's someone who's spent time knowing exactly how to find that quick, or know that that it's not there.
It's kind of funny though. The more I look at his results from last year and this year, the more they look exactly the same, right? Like he's got bogey races like Mugello, he got 22nd. At Catalunya, he got 13th, and then he has podiums, right? In Jerez, in France, in Germany. His Moto 3 season last year was very comparable. Podium, nothing. Podium, nothing. Podium, nothing. The whole season down. Like. I like his talent is definitely coming through in those solid races, and I do wonder if it's the team that's holding him back in the other ones.
Right, and that actually kind of leads, as you're saying, if it follows it to the perfect question, is can he actually win a race this year or races? That's the hallmark of someone who's the real deal, someone who's actually a talent, and can he win a race? Can he pull the Maverick Vinales and win his rookie year? I don't want to say pull an Alex Rins, because, Alex Rins exactly, but he did, Alex Rins did break his back. So, I give him a little slack, but the question is, can Pecco and the VR46 team actually win a race in their rookie season? Can they pull that off? When you parallel last season, this season, I'm kind of thinking that they got the chance.
I'll give him a pass though, right? Because Franco didn't get his first win until Qatar this year, right? Huge string of podiums last year, never actually put it together, and now he's doing amazing this season. So
right.
Yeah, but MotoGP generally is terrible at predictions. If you go back and listen to previous episodes, you'll see how much idiots we are on that one. So let's move on to number 4 in the title, and my one and your one word for this guy is nepotism.
Motherfucking nepotism. So all you who sent me Instagram messages saying you hadn't heard the word nepotism enough this week, you're going to get plenty of it. We have the best words. Our words are tremendous. Really, truly. People are talking about it. Our words, they're amazing. They're nepotastic. So, yeah. So, nepotastic.
Obviously, we're talking about Alex Marquez.
Obviously,
because his last name is Marquez, and we know how all that goes. So, I feel like up until this last round, he was not in 4th in the championship. And then he finally gets his first solid DNF at Sachsenring because he had a very interesting crash in one of the chicanes. And now he's 4th. He's down a little bit. He's got 2 wins. He has 1 other podium, and everything else, most of everything else is the top 5. What are we doing with the kid? Like, at one point we were talking about him being the title challenger to Morbidelli, but now he's fallen back a little bit. He's now something like 61 points behind or something. It was good, but now it's not.
Yeah, it's the same thing. This is the guy that we're just going to keep giving opportunities until eventually he makes it happen. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, he won the Moto 3 title because they basically gave him, a MotoGP bike in Moto 3, and Jack Miller was on the KTM, right? Like, That bike was like $500,000, and they just sold it to the teams for like the the limit you're supposed to have. Like they made the KTM killer that year that was designed to beat them. Honda. Yeah. Right, like, he only won. He clearly was not the most talented that year. Jack Miller was, I've talked some shit about Miller, but he was clearly leaps and bounds ahead of Marquez in both outright speed and, race tactics, being a tactician, and all that, and aggression and all that. And, basically just he had the best bike, which obviously turns into, as soon as he goes and rides on the same bike as everyone else in Moto2, he kind of sucks for 2 years. But unlike, Louis Salam, who won a shitload of races on a good bike in Moto3 and then got bounced after 2 bad years, we continue to give him chance after chance until, he's winning races after all the good guys moved up, and there's a bunch of rookies who are still cutting their teeth, and finding their spot in Moto2. But what does he do? He fucks it up whenever he's got a chance to actually look real good. And, he's riding that wave of, I'm Marquez, I'm, Repsol sponsored, I have all the ins, I'm the next Spanish guy, and we're just going to put all the money and all the time and all the chances behind him until he makes it work.
I mean, you already said it. The thing that stands out to me is I feel like more talented people were bounced from their teams, and on lower spec teams as well. Like Mark VDS is a powerhouse in Moto2, and Alex Marquez got 1 podium last year, none the year before. He finished 13th and 14th in the championship. He's actually scored more points this year than he did the previous 2 years, and we're only halfway through. Like that was the previous 2 years just screamed to me like this kid doesn't have it. I'm curious as to what changed, because it's not like the team got considerably better at setting up a Moto2 bike. They know what they're doing. They perhaps
we talked about this. The good teams brought up new guys. Fabio Quartararo is now on the Pons team, and we see Navarro is on the Gresini team. And then you see the other high end guys, like you see Oliveira and Pecco, are on brand new teams. So what Alex has is he's the only veteran on a seasoned team. The good teams from last year that were running around and beating him and looking good have invested in young, new talent. And hey, fucking Pons was complaining about signing Quartararo before the year started. So you know how much that team's, excited about their fucking rider. He was. He's like, I should have waited longer. Like, way to fucking start the season off. I think what changed is that he has less competition.
Yeah, we've talked about the kind of bleeding competition, and you could say that about every year, though, right? Usually someone moves up. I guess we did have a big wave of people moving out into GP last year, which took the majority of the talent. But I look at it, though, too, like other riders like Nakagami and Egerter, they're still there. They're still on their same teams.
Fucking who? What? The fuck are you even talking about right now?
No, but these are guys that have gotten podiums before, and they've kind of been up there, just albeit inconsistently, and they're still in the same spot as they were.
The only reason I even know Egerter is because last year during testing, he ran 2 dildos off the seat of his bike, and they called it wings, and then they got banned real quick. Like, that's the only reason I even know who you're talking about, was like flaccid dicks hanging off of the seat of his bike to disrupt the draft.
He's talking about somewhat pseudo tail winglets. They did kind of look like dildos. They were very phallic. It happens.
Right. They were quite phallic. My point is, guys always move up. You're totally right. And you don't want to discount people doing well because guys moved up, because that's how the intermediate class works. Guys move up and you have your time to shine. That's why we all secretly hate Tom Luthi, because the fucking asshole has never moved up, and he's pulling like a Rich Oliveira circa 1990s AMA. But normally what happens is the good teams have the high-end riders. So guys move up and they're replaced by high-end riders. But this year we see that the good teams that got wins and do well traditionally in Moto2, like Rossini and Pons, decided to sign young Moto3 talent. Young Moto3 talent doesn't traditionally do well off the bat in Moto2. That's why we said Pecco's so special. That's why Maverick was special. That's why a lot of people thought Rins was special. But those guys on those teams aren't. So all fucking Alex Marquez has to do is go against his teammate. But, it's not working out.
It is not working out. And I did say it before, the next best rookie besides Pecco is Navarro in 15th place in the championship. So that's not your point. I shouldn't agree with you too much, Kev. It makes for a boring episode, God damn it.
Every once in a while, the Kevin Rob agree for an hour is sweet episode. It's like fun times, you know what I mean? It's like Game of Thrones is back. Nothing really fucking happened on the episode, but we all kind of had a big hug and ate some pizza, and we're just like fucking Khaleesi, That's the same thing with these episodes. Every once in a while, it's just good to have a good old-fashioned bro-down, ho-down.
Hey,
and,
a shit ton of people still died in that episode. It was amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Go watch Game of Thrones.
Right, exactly.
And I actually contemplated not watching it and just waiting until the end of the season and then binging the whole thing, but I realized that doing this podcast with you, it would never work out.
It would never work out,
no,
exactly.
It would be spoilers the whole time. All right, so where does Alex Marquez go? There was talk that he was moving up to GP with Franco, and we heard a bunch of silly season rumors out of that, and then we do now find out that he is staying in Moto2 for one more year.
They know that this isn't the guy, right? Because if they're willing to move Nakagami up to be the second seat at LCR, we're all pretty much hearing, and a guy Passport, right? But still, they're going to move him up, right? They moved Jack Miller up into the LCR seat as a non-pressured spot, and obviously we know Alex Marquez can. Look, they're trying to shove this dude down our throats, like Yannone's trying to shove his homoerotic thoughts down our throats via Instagram stories. This guy, they're just going to stick him around in Moto2 until he wins the title or until he fights for the title, and so they can act like he is this transcendent talent because they just simply want this guy in MotoGP. This shit is predetermined, and that's the reason we talk about fucking nepotism so much. We all fucking know it. And despite the fact that this guy is simply not the talent that other people that we see seem to be, or clearly are in some cases, they are going to... It's annoying. He eventually is going to take a seat, and one of our guys on Instagram, when we said, what do you guys want us to talk about, was talk about how he's just going to steal someone's seat in MotoGP for 5 years and then not do anything with it.
Oh my god. I can't even on that one. I used to have the thought that HRC was going to keep Danny Pedrosa around as long as they needed him to stay so that Marquez could make it onto the factory ride. Now I just hope that whoever is running HRC at this point is not blinded so much by the nepotism and realizes that this kid doesn't have it. Maybe if he gets an LCR ride, he replaces Cal because Cal talks too much shit and they can him. Fine. Totally fine with that. He's exactly
right.
He's definitely one of the riders that we could put in GP. He'll bring a lot of fans. He has the whole Marquez clan has a huge fan base, and it will not be bad for GP. But putting him on a factory bike and expecting him to win, that shit ain't gonna happen.
Right, and it just screams to me we've talked about this before, one of the great stories about Moto2 is sort of the rise of the franchise and how we're seeing a difference in where riders come from. The VR46 Academy is becoming this franchise that transcends sponsors and teams. They're a new group that you can root for, and they're a group that sponsors can get behind because of their association with Valentino, and they know they're going to get side grouping. But not just that, right? And they know these guys are getting training, and now you can sort of root for this team in the same way that you can root for a football club or something. It's the new way to bring riders up. But Alex Marquez is still hearkening back to the old way that everyone's kind of annoyed with by now, which is the predetermined sponsor, passport, family association gets him there.
Oh, I mean, it's as worse. It's as bad as it can get because it's not just the passport; it's also the family name. I mean, Axel Pons, we know that he stuck around in Moto2 for quite a while because of his last name, But at the same time, he's not on his dad's team anymore. He's riding a different bike. He might be doing a little bit better not on his father's team, but he's not getting super special treatment anymore. He's actually working off of his results, even though I feel like he last year at Assen or something, didn't he cross the finish line not on the motorcycle, and it was badass? Yeah, right? But Marquez, if he makes it all the way to GP on his last name, it's just I'm going to pull my hair out. Well,
and it's the opposite, right? Like, a lot of people thought, like, Finati was predetermined because he was sort of the first with, the VR. But he fucker got bounced when he fucking crossed the boss, And it's like, and that got all done. That shit was not predetermined. Like, they're there to build a group. And I see Alex Marquez as just he harkens back to the old days of passport rides and, give everyone, like, Everett's not here, but he always complains that there's guys who just do well because they're always given the correct opportunity. It's like he's constantly giving. That is motorcycle racing, but like it is, and it's the part that sucks. But you see, you see what KTM is doing, which is sort of going rogue and sort of fostering their own path forward. And you see the VR46 crew, Riders Academy, is now sort of reinventing how guys are trained and fostered and brought up, no longer with sponsors but with club association. And then you just see, like, oh man, it just feels old, and it feels like we've been here before, and it's lame, and we've seen what happens. You know what I mean?
All right, I'm going to make one wisecrack before we move on to KTM. And
damn, Rob's going to make a joke. Get the laugh track ready.
Apparently, Julia Marquez, their father, is a whole lot better to be around in the paddock than Finati's mom.
Nice, yeah, exactly.
Because we all know that's why Finati got bounced. His mom.
Finati's mom will cut a bitch straight up. She's
apparently, yeah. Maybe she threatened Uccio. Maybe she didn't. Who knows? All right, moving on. We've already talked about nepotism way too much. So now is kind of the up and comer. And do I really have to eat crow on this one?
You gotta eat a big ass crow sandwich, dog.
No, can I not? I mean, they still haven't won. So. I, Rob, am the hugest KTM Moto 2 detractor on the planet. I'm not on the train. I'm not on the hype train. I didn't think that they were going to be able to come into this championship against the teams and the chassis that have years and years and years of setup data running not their engine, right? It's their Honda engines, and do well. And then they get Miguel Oliveira, and he makes me look stupid.
Right. We need to cut this in. You're racist against fucking trellis frames. You don't like trellis frames. You want to build a wall against trellis frames. You guys might not know this, but Rob penned a trellis frame travel ban, so he didn't want any trellis frames or anyone from Portugal going to any round of MotoGP.
Hey, I'm okay with Portugal. But you're totally right about the trellis fame. You're totally right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm exactly.
So, you were a non-believer. You didn't have the faith, but I did have the faith. And like the Lord of Light who delivered Jon Snow from the clutches of death, the trellis frame, fiery orange, delivered Miguel Oliveira from the depths that Danny Kent is still in. From the fake energy drink team to the real energy drink team. And they're, the thing's looking good. And we mentioned Passini's DQ that elevated Oliveira to yet another podium. So 4 podiums in 8 races, and he's looking real good. The bike's looking good. I even heard through the grapevine that
9 races.
9 races, excuse me. Fuck you, whatever. But and he jumped on the KTM MotoGP bike and was only about a second slower than his competing for number 44 teammate Pol Espargaro. So,
I mean, to me that screams how good Oliveira is, right? It's not. I almost base KTM's performance off of their worst performer, which is not Oliveira. He's obviously doing amazing, but Oliveira he hasn't had amazing results. He didn't have amazing results on the Kalex last year. And now he gets onto a team that is a factory team. They obviously have more resources, and he's doing well, but it's just I lost my point. I'm sorry. I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Binder's not doing well. He did get an injury. He did get hurt. I was never, and those who listen to this podcast regularly, not sold on Binder. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll love me a South African, bruh. But, right, anytime I can get into, a South African chappy voice, I'm all good. Die Antwood for days, don't get me wrong. But I was never quite sold on Binder. But Oliveira was a pimp, dude. He was real good in Moto 3, and I think he went into Moto 2 and he was on that Leopard team, which again, that was also their entry into Moto 2 for the first time, and it was not looking too good for them or Kent. And, he gets on the Moto 2 bike for KTM, and he's looking good. The other thing that you see KTM doing, and this is, again, you didn't believe in the factory entry, but what does the factory entry have? Fucking resources and Red Bull money. Red Bull's got so much money. Red Bull's got so much money, they stuck a guy in a capsule and flew him to the fucking stratosphere so he could jump out of it for one of their commercials. You know what I mean? Like, they made an hour-long commercial about a guy jumping out of a fucking balloon, and they have brought multiple chassis to races. They're continuing to refine and build. They did not just build one trellis frame and say, let's go. They're working on that bike, and they have the resources. It may, in fact, be the problem with their Moto 3 team, which we'll get to in an episode following this, not doing so well, is they're investing in working on that Moto 2 squad. And, can Miguel win a race this year? I think it's only a matter of time. I think he's going to win one because no one in the Calix frame is getting consistent new updates specific to them.
Yeah, that's been true pretty much constantly throughout the Moto 2 era, because it's been Calix versus Suter, sort of versus Speed Up, sort of versus Tech 3. Right, there are the chassis.
Let's get one thing straight.
Too much.
No one is competing against Tech 3 because Tech 3 is not competitive.
Yes,
I mean,
you're totally right. So we'll go Calix versus Suter, and Suter's not even there. I'll bring up Egerter again. That's the top place Suter rider in the championship this year, right? No one after Marquez stopped riding that chassis, no one cared about Suter anymore. But you're right. Like, Calix has one essentially like factory squad that gets to test things first and potentially gets to race on things first, but it can't be made for them. It's like spec tires, right? You can't make a Michelin or a Bridgestone or a Pirelli in the other championship, or a Dunlop in this one. You can't make it for one rider, because it will screw over someone. You have to put out something based on the feedback from everyone, and you have to just kind of hope that it works and hope that it doesn't fuck someone over. But invariably, it doesn't work as well as KTM designing a chassis specifically just for their riders.
Right, and this is the effect of Suter back when Marquez won the Moto 2 championship. Was like you saw, as soon as Marquez left, their development and their results went way downhill because they were designing a bike around him, which he could go hella fast and win on. I mean, cheating with his quick shifter aside, because that happened and everyone kind of acted like that didn't happen. Speaking of nepotism, but. They DQ'd fucking Mattia Pacini. The guy's fucking hand doesn't even work. And they're like, no, bro, your 10W30 oil isn't really the right brand. Like, they fucking DQ'd him for that. Marquez was cheating the entire season. They tried to act like he wasn't cheating, and then they fucking clarified the rule next year, which made what he was doing blatantly cheating. I mean, fucking help me out here. Blatantly. But I fucking lost my point because I was getting into nepotism again. My point being is that the Suter, was real good in Marquez's hands, but not really a lot of other people's. But hey, if Miguel Oliveira comprises 50% of your fucking riders, who cares if the other 50%'s not doing that great? We only have one guy we really need to make sure this bike works for right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're new to the championship, contributing to the Casey Stoner effect and building a chassis for your fastest rider, that's totally cool, right? Once KTM, I hope that they. I actually don't. I don't hope that they sign more riders next year. But if they sign more riders next year, that will probably change just a little bit. They'll have to make some chassis for other people, and it might slow down that development a little bit.
But they're never going to sign the amount of riders, because what's KTM not doing? They're not trying to sell their services to multiple teams like Suter is doing. I mean, we're talking about Suter is the same team who's chilling with a high-as-fuck Keanu Reeves at World Superbike, pedaling some fucking two-stroke street bikes, or whatever they were even fucking selling, right? Suter is still trying to sell chassis to teams. Calix is. KTM's not doing that. KTM is a self-contained unit. What they're trying to sell is good Moto3 riders a path to MotoGP.
That is their number one focus for sure. They will. I mean, I guess even when they do branch out, they're still not really going to be selling their chassis, right? It'll be you're now a part of the KTM squad, kind of like this. It'll be the same structure that we have in GP. I think it's funny though, because wasn't KTM the first one in GP that said we're going to blatantly sell these motorcycles and you buy it and then we're done with it?
But then they just didn't.
Yeah, they just changed their mind and
changed their fucking mind.
It might be working out better. All right, we're running out of time, Kev. We got to move on. Move on. Number 2, your favorite journeyman in Moto2, Tom Luthi.
Well, I can't. First of all, I had a whole series of jokes that I was going to go on that Rob is not going to let me talk about. So I'm only going to... Nah, I'm not going to do it. But...
it was bad, everyone.
Fuck.
It was really bad. It was way worse than Tito Rabat and comparing him to what's his face. Way worse than that. I told you to find a not so attractive celebrity to compare.
And
to Tom
I said
Luthi
Jared Fogle.
No,
and you said I can't say that.
You can't, because he's not a celebrity for the right reasons anymore. So we gotta. Okay. No, you're not. No, find a new one, or let's talk about Tom Luthi's racing. So the thing. Go ahead.
I mean, the number one thing about Tom Luthi is I'm glad he's not winning this year. Not because I dislike Tom Luthi, really. I actually like to see him move to World Superbike and move on from Moto2. But I'm finally glad that, he's not winning. He's not this just never-ending presence. Because I firmly believe that Tom Luthi winning and being competitive in Moto2 is bad for Moto2 because he's never moved up. So if we're talking about a guy that the whole paddock agrees is not GP-level talent, why is he the guy that we're trying to measure GP talent against? Don't give me that he's the gatekeeper bullshit. He's not a gatekeeper. Tito Rabat is going to be the gatekeeper because Tito's the guy who went up to GP, couldn't cut it, moves back down, and now that to beat Tito was to prove you're ready for GP. But Luthi's never been in GP, and he's never beat anyone who did well in GP. So he is not a gatekeeper. He is not a barometer for whether you can do well in GP or not. He's just a barometer for whether you suck or not. That's all I have to say about him. The guy has no wins. You know what I mean? Fucking Mattia Passini's got more wins than he does right now, and that's a good thing.
Mattia has more disqualifications, too. No,
right, exactly.
I'm not as optimistic about the season as you are because Tom Luthi classically doesn't do that great in the entire first half of the season. Yeah, he won at Qatar last year, but then he had a string of terrible results, and
he won at Qatar because of that crazy jump start debacle.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. And then for the rest of the first half of the season up until the summer break, he kind of did. He got one podium, but there were too many 7th places. He wasn't up there, right? Sam Lowe's had more wins than him and more points in the first half of the season, which is not. We're not talking about Sam Lowe's in this episode because it's too depressing.
Yeah.
But in the second half of the season, Luthi came through. He got. Well, didn't we say he was what was it? The first back-to-back wins.
It was his first back-to-back win ever.
Oh,
not since forever, since ever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
he finally put it together. So that's what I'm worried about, right? If he does that again in the latter half of the season, Franco's championship lead is going to dwindle. It's going to go away, and we're gonna. I mean,
Yeah,
best.
and I worry too because we've seen what happens with riders. You know, Franco has signed; he's moving up to MotoGP, and we saw what happened with Sam Lowe's Mr. Depressing. We wouldn't talk about. We saw what happened with Rins, and like these guys sign. They, the dream of every single fucking dude in 125 or in Moto3 CEV, all the way down that early, is to get to MotoGP, and Franco did it. Franco signed. He knows he's in MotoGP, just like Lowe's did, just like Rins did. And I think sometimes those guys just think, well, I'm over it. I'm signed. It's time to start thinking ahead and getting ready. And, and Rossi's already talking about how, Franco's a very big problem in MotoGP. It's like if he loses his eye on the prize, suddenly we've got fucking Tom Luthi, possibly fighting for or winning a championship. And that's just not good because the guy doesn't have the talent to be a MotoGP racer and he's just kind of there.
At best, we get an amazing title battle for the end of the season, right? Some crazy shit goes down. They have some bogey races. They have good battles towards the end of the season, right? Franco doesn't just phone it in because he already has his contract, right? That's the best thing that can happen out of Tom Luthi doing better in the second half of the season. But yeah, right. But I can't say that I'm being pessimistic. I'm being a little pessimistic about Luthi and about him being this false gatekeeper for the championship. It is funny that you brought up Tito. I mean, I instantly thought of Tony Elias because he went back and forth a few times, and it's just. But that's the first step, right? You got to beat Luthi no matter what until he bounces from the championship, because if you're losing to him consistently, it's hard. It's a hard sell to any GP team to actually get signed up there. Very hard sell.
Right, and it's a hard sell for people to tune in. Like, you sort of joke that like 3 hours of racing in a row on Sunday is kind of a lot. And sometimes you got to wake up and you watch Moto3 and then you got to take a dump. And Moto3 is the take a dump hour. It's, I hate to say, or Moto2, I mean. Moto2. And Moto3, you wake up on Sunday, you're fucking jazzed. If you're West Coast United States, it's early as fuck, so you woke up, you're tired, but you're excited because it's going to be legit, and Moto3 is so dope, and then you stay up and watch it, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to go back and rest for a second, or I'm going to fucking grow a tail in the bathroom, or I'm going to fucking get something to eat, make my breakfast, and now MotoGP, and I'll just check Moto Matters and see who won Moto2. Like, Luthi is part of that. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure I make breakfast during Moto2 whenever I wake up Sunday morning. That's totally it.
Yeah, and by make breakfast, I mean, drink a couple glasses of red wine. But, right, be the change, people. Be the change. All
right,
but... Go ahead. No, are you cutting me off and moving on?
I'm cutting you off. We got to move on. Let's move on to some positive topics real fast because we want to get to stuff at the end after Franco. So Franco Morbidelli, he's got
fuck yeah, best Jerry Curl in the business, and now he's got a dope ass stash.
Really? Holy shit!
Oh hell yeah!
I need to be on Twitter more often. That's insane.
He's like half Brazilian, half Italian. Half Brazilian, half Italian is a match made in fucking heaven if you're talking about a mustache. There is no better, there's no better way to grow a stash. Like, if I was going to create the perfect mustache, the genes I would start with are Brazilian and Italian. I would build from that.
I have no mustache experience. I'm sorry, Kev. I can't really discuss this.
Yeah, exactly.
This is terrible. And I'm not 16. I just can't grow one. It happens.
Right. Yeah, Rob cannot grow one, that's for sure. But he does have quite slender hips, and that's very attractive.
I need that A-star suit that'll pull me out.
Yeah, Maverick style.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me those birthing hips. Yeah. Yeah, Franco's dominating the championship. If it wasn't for that kind of one DNF, he would be, running away from it. But he's still comfortably in the lead. He's signed to MotoGP. His Jerry curl's on point. His mustache is epic. It's basically 1984, and he's a backup dancer for a Rick James video. I love Morbidelli. I'm a big fan of him winning. He's the crux of the VR46 Riders Academy school, the reason for its existence. It's to create champions, to get more Italians, to create more stars and more famous guys, and he's the sort of the zenith, if you will, of that team, and I'm a huge fan of it.
I feel like he's a successor to Petrucci. Not really. I mean, maybe not a successor because obviously they'll both be in GP at the same exact time, but the coming through with some Italian influence, they're both very quiet, and they both have that sense of humor that is going to be fucking amazing in the press conference before the rounds.
Right, I almost feel like because we've talked so much over the podcast of these manufactured guys. Like, we talked about how Marquez just harkens back to that annoying manufactured rider, manufactured champion. Like, I love Danny, but he does have kind of a manufactured thought. Marc Marquez, the same thing, is sort of like fake, nice guy thing, but, we all know he was conspiring with Jorge. We know. But, I'm bringing back 2015. But Franco is not that. He comes from a different, series lineage before he found his success. He wasn't just the manufactured, Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP guy. I kind of, just like Petrucci isn't that. He doesn't come from that same game plan, if you will, or, floor plan of how to get a rider in a MotoGP, which means he's been trained differently. He's not quite as polished and perfect with his PR specific answers to every fucking question.
Yeah, I mean, his talent was built in the beginning in European Superstock 600, right? He won that championship in 2013. He's arguably as successful as Cal in other classes, right? He never rode a Moto3 bike. He won a championship on a production-based motorcycle, and now he's doing amazing in Moto2, right? This is a different path, and for a while, for the past couple of years, we are saying that the correct path was CEV Moto3, GP Moto3, Moto2, GP. And there are a few guys that are proving us wrong. I mean, maybe it's just the cream always rises to the top, because that generally does happen. But I'm excited about Morbidelli too. I'm looking towards the last half of the season. He did amazing last year in the second half of the season, and I hope that he can put it together and challenge Luthi the entire time, and they just go head to head, and that 34-point gap just hovers around that or something smaller, and we get an amazing title fight. Because that's the finish that we need to this season, so that we can look back on this and be like, it was freaking amazing. Nepotism is gone. Luthi was there, but he lost. Right? Morbidelli signed a GP. Those are all the storylines that we want for Moto2, so that we don't have to just disregard these races like we do with World Superbike.
Yeah, and you see, even Baldassari, last year got a win, and where did he come from? He came from CEV Moto2. I don't want to hate on the Spanish midget talk, but that kind of rubs a lot of groups of fans the wrong way. This sort of predetermined, you're a small Spanish guy with the right backing, so you're going to have the perfect clear path. And what we're seeing with Moto2 and with some of these guys is it's not quite so perfectly clear. European Superstock, no one used to think that was a spot where we'd see potential high-end MotoGP riders come from. Some of these guys we see like Bulaga, and some people are just simply too big for Moto3 with the drafting battle that it is, and you see some of these guys from CEV Moto2 or maybe Moto, it's like you said, European Superstock can lead over, and that's because of the strength of what the VR46 Academy is creating, which is a breeding ground from racers from a variety of areas, not beholden to a single sponsor with money backing, but simply training backing and association with the right other riders. They're fostering these guys and they're building the talent, not just giving them the best machinery overall.
I do wonder how the VR46 Academy is going to go with Morbidelli for next year, because last time, who's he signed for? He signed for Mark VDS.
Fucking Mark VDS, yeah.
They're not riding M1s. What the fuck is Rossi going to do?
Right, yeah, I mean, that's the problem, can he sort of come full circle and have a close relationship with Honda again after all these years and such a bad breakup?
Maybe that was the undertone of what Rossi meant when he said that Morbidelli was going to be a problem in GP. He's not just a problem because of his talent and because of the results that he'll likely bring in the battles that he'll do against people. He's a problem because Rossi's probably not going to be able to train him anymore, and his whole VR46 Academy might be thrown a little sideways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with that, because of that kind of contentious nature, but they are a satellite team and not, directly factory team. So, Valentino helping train him. And Petrucci goes and rides with those guys sometimes, and Piscini rides with those guys. So I don't think that you're going to see a contraction in his association with VR46. I think that Morbidelli is the first guy to come up and get into MotoGP via that crew and that relationship, and I think Valentino is going to put extra time into training this guy.
As long as Morbidelli doesn't show up at the ranch with HRC technicians, everything will be fine.
Yeah, really, yeah, exactly. On that motherfucking note.
Yeah. All right, Kev, we are completely out of time. Let's do some listener questions real fast and then close this one out.
Right. One of the questions from Panagale John, who, by the way, won our helmet that we were giving away, was how much will it suck once Alex Marquez eventually makes his way to MotoGP? How much will it suck? A lot.
Yeah, it's going to happen, but I hope that the whole entire paddock now is looking at people and is willing to fire them. Right, there's been talk about Lowe's getting fired. Tito is gone. Right, the Pole and Bradley were at least moved out. Like Pole and Bradley were the last two shitty riders that are going to stick around. I feel like everyone else that signed new since then is on like a 2-year deal and then they're gone. Because even
and if you're Sam Lowe's, you're on like a 6-race deal and you're gone.
Yeah, that might. I mean, it's Sam Lowe's is all up and down. We don't even know what's going on with him. But I hope that the variability of the entire paddock and just the results coming for certain teams and not for others just makes them want to fire people. So I think Alex Marquez will get into the paddock. He just never makes it to HRC, and he just gets bounced down to third-tier teams and then back to World Superbike or something. I'm fine with him in the World Superbike. He can go Marquez that place up.
Yeah, no doubt. And a couple other guys. Silvio wants to know who's going to get number 44 if Oliveira moves up to MotoGP, him or Espargaro. Trick question. There will be no Pol Espargaro in MotoGP by the time Oliveira's there. So that's to go exactly with what Rob said. So there's simply... the KTM signed Pole and Bradley to get that thing off its feet. It's exactly the same game plan that BMW did with Corsair and Zaus. They are not the future of that squad. That was just consistency. Take some riders who got regularly consistent results on a mid-level bike, move them over so we can judge where the bike is and get it started. Then we get the young talent on it. So by the time Oliveira is in MotoGP, and I think he will be based on his successes in just his second year on a brand new bike, they will move him up and it will do well.
If KTM only fires one of their riders, though, they're going to keep Pole for sure. And Bradley will be gone. Yeah, so Pole's having some very interesting results these days on the KTM. So there might be a chance. There might be a chance that he sticks around. But I'll go with your answer anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we had another one that Jana Jean Beauty Queen wants to hear me wax poetic about my little bowl of Spanish rice. This is the very disturbing and very encroaching topic that people think I actually like Marquez, and I'm pulling like a kindergarten, 6 years old, throw rocks at him because I actually like him but don't know why. Fuck you. Marquez sucks. His teeth are huge and we all hate him.
You broke up with Rossi, but that doesn't mean that you went over to Marquez and are now throwing rocks at his window to try and get him.
Like when you break up with a chick and you got to get back in the field, you go slump buster. Okay, if you're in a slump, it's not working out, the girls that you're used to were kind of hot, but you're in a fucking cold streak, you go slump buster. It's like riding a Vespa. It's fun, but you don't necessarily want to see your friends who ride Ducatis see you doing that fucking Vespa or that slump buster. So late one night, you go out and do your thing, but you don't go out with the fucking, it's not called a tard buster. You don't go out with like a special needs person, and that's fucking Alex Marquez. He's got special needs because the only way he can win is when he gets special fucking frames.
Wow.
So
wow. No, I got nothing. Nope.
Nothing.
Got nothing. Moving on.
Moving on. So
Two more.
Two more. Some people want to know how I think Bulaga and how we think Bulaga will do. There's some talk that, he's not doing that well in Moto3 this year because the KTM is not only that good, but he's just simply too big for the drafting battle in Moto3. He has to make up too much time after starts because he's slow. He has to ride too hard early on to deal with that, and he wastes fuel and tires, and he's not close enough for the draft battle and how he'll do in Moto2 should they bounce Manzi and move him up. All I have to say about Bulaga is you've never seen him or Hilary Swank in the same place at the same time.
Oh man, I think that he needs to have like some sort of audition or something on the 600s with the VR46 Academy, and he just needs to convince everyone that he will be significantly better on the Moto2 bike than on the Moto3 bike. Because Moto3 for him is a lost cause. Fanati's been around there. He's a tiny guy. He might be a little bulky and a little heavy, but he's small and he can get results every year, albeit not that many. But Bulaga, he has no chance. Like he's been hoping out for those 2 wins or something, and he said he was going to cut his hair when that happened, but no, it's just too big. He needs to lead the championship. He needs to find someone that'll take a sort of risk on him because he doesn't have Moto3. And really, the team should know that Moto3 results do not translate into Moto2 results because besides Pecco, look at all the rookies. They're down there, and it's not working out that well. So
right, and that's going to segue us because we're going to follow this up at some point soon in the Moto3 episode. Is that Bulaga does have some podiums and had some flashes of brilliance in Moto3 on what clearly is not the best bike. So Bulaga is learning and riding and cutting his teeth, as Rob said, on an inferior bike, and hopefully that translates well, like it translated to a lot of other guys. The guys in Moto3 who moved up, who've done well, as we've seen, are not the Alex Marquez, the Sandro Corteses, and the Luis Salams who had the best bike at the time, but they're the guys who had kind of even Maverick, who won the title on the KTM, did not have the factory KTM. He was riding for a secondary team. He was not on the top tier bike, and he won that title at the very last moment, doing what he had to do. And I think that, the flashes of brilliance that we've seen from Bulaga bode well for when he moves up to a bigger bike and can really show what he has.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not Marc Marquez and can destroy everyone on anything, right, this is what you generally have to go through. You need to build your rider talent, and you need to do that in hopes that you get an amazing bike to put it together, right? He's got to move out. Hopefully it'll work out for him, and he can follow Bagnaya's sort of path with riding the KTM for this year. All right, last one.
Oh, you want to do one more? You said 2. Okay, hold on. Let me go back to it. Good. Actually,
was that 5? Do I fail
the
it?
The final questions are on the topic that shall not be mentioned, apparently, according to Rob. So
what?
Yeah, exactly.
What did you post on the internet?
Questions on Luthi and how he looks and his resemblance to certain classifications of criminals and criminals who may or may not drive windowless vans. So I'm not going to go any deper into that.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We're going to close on that. I think that we're going to record sometime soon again. We didn't get to 2 episodes tonight because Ev wasn't able to join us, but we still have the Moto3 Championship to talk about in the summer break, and episode 69 is coming up next, so we might be doing something for that. There's a lot going on, and we're going to keep these episodes coming at you. Kev, do you have any final thoughts there?
I think that's the one. That's all good.
There we go. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we will catch you very soon.
Later.